Welcome back to your election headquarters. We're continuing to cover the NPP's primaries. Of course, it's been very interesting. We've been here since 7. If you're watching us, you're on Joynews. We're on DSTV 421, GoTV 144. We're on all our social media platforms as well, including Myjoyonline.com. If you're on radio, it's Joy 99.7 FM. Also on Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi and all our dozens of affiliates across the country. I'm Gifty Andopi. I'm here with Dr. Issa Santi. He's a political scientist from the University of Ghana. I've also been joined by my colleague Joseph Opoku Gakpo, who corresponds for us from Parliament. And we're looking especially at the number of people who are having to leave Parliament. I have Raymond Akwa, who is joining us all the way from the United Kingdom. Raymond, it's good to have you. What happened to your hair? No blade?
Thank you so much.
No razor?
I am extremely cautious of the current happenings with a lot of safety precaution when it comes to engaging those who are skilled in the act of subjecting me to these things. I am worried that I may be sacrificing beauty for my safety and my life.
Okay, Raymond, that's a thesis. That's okay. Thank you very much. We'll organize a whole new show on your new look. So we're essentially looking at what has happened in Parliament. But before we go on, Joseph had a point. Let me bring to you, by the way, breaking news, what's happening on the front of coronavirus, since Raymond has just touched a bit on that. Look, according to the Ghana Health Service website, we have recorded 514 new cases as of today. 514 new cases. Now, the interesting part, which a lot of people are talking about, especially on social media, is the recoveries. We've seen a significant jump in the recoveries. We're looking at 10,074 recoveries right now. So our active cases, as we speak, has been reduced to 3,558. We have recoveries of 10,074, but 85 people have died. As of yesterday, we had 70 deaths. 70 deaths from a previous 66. As we speak today, 85 more people. So 85 people in all have died. Let me take perhaps your thoughts on these, and then I hope that we'll have enough time to do all of the politics. But Raymond, you especially in the UK, where most parts are still in some sort of lockdown. What do you think?
Of course, I mean, the numbers are still huge. Almost 41,000 people who have died in this country since the issue became a very prominent one. Some people are worried about government's response right from the beginning. Government said they put in place a very wonderful plan. What you can say for sure is that me personally, I have been approached on 4 different occasions. On these 4 different occasions, 2 of them, I had a team coming to me to test for coronavirus. I don't know whether the ordinary Ghanaian can say the same thing too. So there's a lot of tracing and testing happening in this country. And so the numbers may correspond to those particular situations. Compared to Ghana, where even though government says it's doing a lot of tracing and testing, many people can still say that they've not had any experience or anybody coming to them to actually have this process done to them. So the difference is there. Now, the other point that is important is that countrywide, I think Ghana has a lot of fear from the beginning, and people are beginning to settle into dealing with coronavirus differently. And they are rather relaxing and finding it like, well, some people will die, others may survive it, but on the whole, some of us are immune to it. I still think that some people feel more comfortable now abusing every single safety precaution that's been actually put out there. When I speak to people, when I hear how they are bold enough to go out there without mask, without any of these, they go for haircuts, they enter the shops, they go to the markets and all of that. Indeed, before Ghana even thought of having to put in some of these laws in this country, stepping outside a certain jurisdiction was not allowed. The systematic easing of restrictions took some time. I mean, the advocacy did not work, but it took some time. And you can connect the decisions of government to the science behind it. That's perhaps the difference between what's happening here and what's happening in Ghana.
Okay, let's move on with the conversation. But Doc, I want to take your thoughts on this as well. Is it that we're doing, one of the biggest issues we have raised throughout the day of our coverage has been the observation of the social distancing protocols at the polling centers, especially after the announcements, etc. What do you see with the figures? Have we all of a sudden done something extremely well, or the concerns that people like Occupy Ghana raise, for example, is something that you have on your mind?
I don't know what goes into this type of calculation, so I may have very little knowledge. But if these figures are anything to go by, then we can say that we are doing something meaningful that is yielding results. But if it is the contrary, then I'm afraid we need to be able to be open and handle this in a way that we will not have, serious case on our hand. The pandemic is a worrying one, and that we need to be very careful. If you look at the way the election is going, the way people are ignoring the protocols, I am very much worried. Because when you come to general election, where you see people eager to get their candidate through, you see people eager to do things for their party, you're going to see worse situations. And I think that Ghana Medical Association, Ghana Health Service, they must, direct their attention towards this.
Okay, towards this as we go into the election. And I've seen people fight on this, which baffles me a bit. I wouldn't dare fight in a pandemic with anybody. I mean, anyway, let me go to Joseph. Let me go to Joseph Opoku Gakpo, who was making a point before we interrupted with the news. So that, Joseph, when you finish, I'll bring Raymond in. And Raymond, when I come to you, I want you to tell us what shocks you most from these election results. Joseph, you were talking about the people on these committees. We're looking at the committees and the people, the sort of committees we're losing people on. These are people who have gathered knowledge. These are people who have operated within this area and gathered the knowledge and the skills, education, communications, finance, legal affairs, government assurances, which should play a big role in the next election, youth and sports, etc. Just a wrap up for me on that point.
We just got that list updated. So right now, 11 committee chairmen have lost their seats. In addition to all those that you mentioned, the chairman of the Works and Housing Committee as well has lost his seat, Nana Mwakon, alongside the chairman of the Poverty Reduction Committee, Godfrey Tangu Bayon. They've all lost their seats. And then we've also had the vice chairman of the Poverty Reduction Committee, Ahmed Arthur, also losing his seat. So 11 chairmen, 4 vice chairmen have lost, alongside 2 ministers and 2 deputy ministers. But essentially, to summarize the point that I'm making, I'm saying that going into the next 6 months, government business in the House, if care is not taken, will be quite difficult to undertake. And in terms of the majority vote to get things done, may be very difficult in the part of those who have their seats. There are those who make once they lose their seats, then there is also the chance of them now focusing on the work in Parliament, going forward. But as Dr. Ansan was explaining, that's usually not the case. We see situations of apathy rather certainly when we have situations of people losing their seats. But just to sum up, I was citing the example of the CI on the constitutional instrument when Parliament voted on the report of the Subsidiary Legislation Committee. The NPP has a 63 majority in Parliament. But when the votes were cast on that particular CI, the NPP managed to marshal just a 14 difference between themselves and the NDC. A lot of the majority MPs were absent. So I'm saying that when it comes to very critical business, and this was actually happening at the time that the NPP and they had to vote on the CI, they had only 106 showing up. more than 60 of them didn't show up. The NDC has 106 MPs in parliament. On the day that they voted for the CI, they had 92 showing up. They only managed not to get a little over 14 or so into the House. So I'm saying that that's an example of how tight a race can be when they need to vote on very crucial government business. And with a lot of the MPs losing and apathy setting in, they should be careful, because that 14 majority that they got when they voted on the CI could diminish even further. And there is really the high possibility that if they are not careful, very crucial government business that the minority decides to oppose will face very stiff opposition, and the majority may not be able to marshal enough numbers on the floor to get things done. And majority of the...
Okay. Well, Joseph, very good point you make there. But unfortunately, the Zoom quality is being a bit of a problem. But I did get the point, and I think we got it. The more than 60 MPs did not show up when they were voting on that crucial CI, which the majority really wanted to push through. So for a thing like that to happen, then you know that, well, something interesting would happen now that 40 or more of them know that they're already on their way out of Parliament. Let me bring you in, Raymond Akwa. You are just joining the conversation. What's your biggest shock? What did you see coming?
What for the MPs sitting MPs that lost their seat, I was expecting some of them to lose. For example, I mean, I was hoping he would not lose, but the chairman of the Finance Committee of Parliament, we knew right from the beginning that he was seen not to belong to the camp of the sitting president, and that has been drummed up consistently to the point that some believe that he deserved more than the likes of Kweku Kwati, more than the likes of Abena Osei Asari to be deputy minister, mindful of his competence in finance and the fact that he's worked at the Bank of Ghana and virtually carved some form of a history at the Bank of Ghana like the vice president. But being chairman of the committee, people also felt he was a bit like this guy in the performance of his duties. He was not as vociferous as he was expected to be, and all of those things were going to work against him. So in fairness, some people believe that they needed to engineer his loss one way or the other to make sure that anybody who is leading that fort would actually be the person who would have the interest of government at all times.
But Raymond, you make it sound as though people out there believe that there was a calculated attempt to get him off. Is that what it seems? What backs that?
Okay, no, to be fair, I mean, the political machination expected some form of an action on him. Even the last election, he went through, but many believe that there was really an attempt to make sure that somebody like Mark Esibe-Yeboah, even though he's a member of the party, he has not sworn that level of loyalty. And even after they had appointed ministers, some believe he was peeved and embittered by the action. And because of that, he was not going to lead Parliament's work the way it ought to be done. And let's not forget, the Finance Committee is a very critical committee. Yeah. And you tell me, how many times have you heard him vociferously defending government with the kind of vigor and the gravitas required?
Well, we've spoken to him a couple of times.
You needed him out by hook or crook.
I see. Okay. Doc, let me come to you. Okay, so Raymond, that will be that was something you saw coming, or was that your shock?
Yes. No. I saw it coming.
Okay.
I actually believed that some others were going to go to. My biggest surprises included Collins Osamankwah, because I know that he had competition in Menchia North. I also know that the biggest competition he had actually no longer been interested in contesting the election. So for Collins Osamankwah, he had wormed his way into government in a way that it was going to be difficult for him to be replaced. Mindful of, in fact, the expectation was that he was supposed to go even on the post. The very person who is contesting him now, he doesn't have the kind of strength and power that without some form of backing, he could have removed Collins Osamankwah just like that. And one thinking, when they call him chief in the constituency, when chief was contesting that particular place, the biggest opponents were not the kind. In fact, one of the people who really mastered a lot of opposition against him did not contest him again. 2 others who were supposed to be in the line to be members of parliament after him, after some agreement was reached, all did not contest in that particular election. So the unknown candidates then became the more vociferous person or the more potent candidate who could pull him down in this particular election. In fact, in the days coming, you hear some complain about how the gentleman who did not look like he had resources garnered so much resources to make it into this particular race and be more resourceful than the member of parliament. And let's also be fair to the member of parliament. Apart from leading a committee like that, he was also the chairman of the Gratis Foundation. But these were not things that really put him in the resourceful position to be able to go back to the people in his constituency and say that these are the many things I can do for you. Let's not forget, Menchia North is opposite Menchia South. Matthew Poku Prempeh is Minister of Education. He is in Menchia South. And this is at the center of Kumasi. Your actions should show that the people of Kumasi are benefiting from it.
I'm just checking.
They are benefiting so that is how all of this probably worked in the interest of the opponent. But his was a shock to me. Now, Obama was supposed to lose right from the time that he was removed. I mean, Vincent Odote, right from the time that he was removed from the ministerial position, many knew that he was bound to go because he had actually had problems with people and suggested that he was bound on his way out of the party on that particular path. The other shock was Ben Abdallah Banda, not because the people have not raised issues. We heard of the cases. We heard of the opponents. In fact, he even acted like the man who was willing to allow a fair play on the ground.
I mean, Mr. Abdallah comes along as someone who is very, calm, collected, and all of that. So
yes, what shocked me was that they were helping you to deal with your opponents, but he was insisting they should be allowed to play.
But isn't that a noble thing to do?
No, not in politics. I mean, clearly, your interest is to win political power. And Dr. Santu will tell you, he taught me that the main interest of political parties is to win political power. Willing to allow a fair play on the ground.
I mean, Mr. Abdallah comes along. Okay, so we're having some feedback there. Raymond, I don't know if you can hear me in real time. Can you hear me in real time?
Okay. Yes, I think it is doing better now.
Okay.
The Ghanaian internet system is improving.
Seriously, go ahead.
Okay, so the point I was also making is that Ben Abdallah, it hurts me one way or the other because I feel he had grown into the position of that particular constitutional legal committee of parliament in a way that he needed to stay on for a while. Okay. I have checked the members of the committee. Unless they pull somebody like now he's Lance Minister, unless they pull somebody like Ameya Treme to become chairman of the committee, because he's dealing with other committees and is busy elsewhere, or unless they ask some very experienced hands to move from some other committees to come and do the work in the committee, I find a lot of quality missing on the side of the majority to lead this particular committee in its absence. People like that, front benchers like that, you do not throw away. And I'll be making reference to what the former, clerks of parliament have written. Both Samuel Intim Dafa and KB Ayensu, their books, the one is The Evolution of Parliament in Ghana. The other one is How Our Parliaments Have Functioned. They make reference to the fact that there are some critical committees that when you pull out very experienced members, and reference have been made to the membership of Papa Oswankoma, W. Ngwafu and Co., you virtually cripple the committee, not only of quality, but of the historical competence to be able to carry out the function. We know Parliament has been seen as a rubber stamp one way or the other. What is currently happening with this vote is going to worsen the situation.
Right. Interesting. But Parliament won't be very excited when you say the rubber stamp. That's a whole debate.
I want to believe that is...
that's a whole debate we can have.
The Speaker of Parliament made reference to that when in the year 2015, he wrote an article and called it Parliament of Ghana Quo Vadis. He referenced that particular situation. He's not oblivious of that particular fact.
That particular perspective. Okay, thank you, Raymond. I'll come back to you, but let me also indicate that we have Tangoma Abayage, one of the winners tonight. She'll be going to Parliament. I'm excited. We'll bring the female angle or the gender balance angle of that conversation when I cross over to her. But Doc, I'm coming to you on Parliament. You see the point that Raymond makes. And Joseph comes from the point where he said, even when you had the majority and you hadn't done this election, you did not have enough of the, well, you had enough, but you did not have all of the members. You lost at least about 60 of them when you had to vote on a crucial thing like the CI that had to do with election 2020. And Raymond then comes from the angle about pulling people off committees and how effectively those committees then function to inure to the benefits of the people that they are representing. What's your own take on that?
These things happen all the time, and Parliament has a way of solving this problem. Okay. Remember, there are some very experienced who started parliamentary work. Today, we don't find them in Parliament. Either they are home relaxing as old people or they are dead and gone. But Parliament as an institution always have a way of correcting this. All right, once there are difficulties, you see leaders coming together and reforming some of these committees for the next session. So for me, it's not a big problem because
Parliament can re-engineer itself.
Parliament has a way of handling these things, and we society, we decide who we put there, and that nobody can legislate against that. And that is also a function of what goes into Parliament. So when we don't take into consideration that aspect, then we'll be missing the point, because we produce what is in Parliament. All right. So if the people decide that we are going to throw all experienced people out and bring in fresh blood, and that they will be able to stand the test of time, I believe and believe strongly that that will work. Kwejo Punkroma was here a few days ago, and I tell you today he's a minister. By dint of hard work, he has gotten to that position. I believe and believe strongly that if we have even people who enter Parliament tomorrow, all right, they will be able to learn the ropes and then live up to expectation. I always don't want to believe that there are people that we cannot do without them. No. People like J.H. Mensah were giants in Parliament. Today, they are no more. We'd have loved to have them in Parliament, but it's unfortunate we can't have them. People like Mr. Usu Achiampong, people like Dr. the man from Nkonya, what was the name? NDC man. People like Esie Dunketia, when he was in Parliament, he was so fantastic. I was a reporter in Parliament. I saw him there. And then performing. People like Kweku Ba and Co., they were the giants in the Second Republic. Today we don't have them. So yes, much as that we have lost them, we are in pain, but I have the hope that those in Parliament will be able to live up to expectation. I have no doubt in my mind. I have no doubt in my mind at all.
Another big issue that has come up in today's election is the female representation. Look, we can have that conversation in 5 hours and we won't really get to any easy answer. Have that conversation in 5 hours and we won't really get to any easy answers. Tangoba Abayage is the new member of Parliament elect, if you like, or representing the NPP for Navrongo Central. She's one of the people that we've been speaking to on this show, on this channel. She's joining me on the line right now. Congratulations to you, ma'am. Hello, ma'am. Are you there?
New member of Parliament. Before they fry me.
Okay, I didn't get most of what you said. Can you go over that for me? Congratulations, by the way.
I am the new parliamentary candidate for the New Patriotic Party.
Exactly. Thank you for that one.
Not the new member of Parliament before they fry me.
No, I know. I indicated that representing the NPP, that's if you win. But yeah, thank you very much. You put it succinctly. That's what actually the word I was looking for. Please, congratulations, first of all. But lots of people seem to be hailing you. You've been able to, as they say, floor a minister of aviation, Mr. Kofi Ada. You moved him off that seat. How did you do that?
Well, we did that. Not I. We, myself and my team. We did that through hard work, through purposefulness, through well-planned, well-coordinated, well-structured campaign. A campaign that had a message that resonated well with the delegates, and most importantly, the party. We had a spirited campaign, moving from every nook and cranny of the constituency. We did a very hard work. People assumed that we weren't working, but for us as a team, and we had a very large team with splinter groups under, but we had a large team that worked together, and I know very well that it is the message we sent and how we package the message and give it to the people. That's the thing about politics. In politics, you've got to package your message. You've got to have a message first. And you've got to be able to package your message. And then you've got to be able to sell the packaged message to the targeted group and let them buy that message. Once you're able to do these things, it is easy for you to win an election. And that is what we did as a group. And I think that that's what's right. But don't let us also belittle the grace of God, which has been abundant in our campaign. I mean, my mantra has been God day with day. And nobody understands that, because we think that from day one, it has been God inside this whole thing, and then it's taking very good care of it.
Interesting. So what's the relationship between you and Mr. Ada? Have you called him? Has he congratulated you?
I haven't called him yet, but his representative was at the coalition center, and now I've made it clear. You know, interesting, people don't know that I have a relationship with the Honorable Kofi Ada. The Honorable Kofi Ada is a cousin, and we relate from ancestral times. So win or lose, we are a family. I will give myself a day or two. You know, we are all tired. If I trust me, last night none of us slept. From the radar I had on the constituency, he wasn't sleeping. And I'm sure for his own radar, I wasn't sleeping either. We are both tired. So maybe we are just trying to sort ourselves out. But I have told the entire constituency and the Navrongo people that this is an internal fight. He is my elder brother. Once I become the candidate, he'll become the elder of the house. He'll be home. When I along the line, I go to a branch junction and I don't know which way to pass, I will look for him and ask him for direction. So we're going to work together.
I just need to find out quickly from you what is going to be your very first focus. Right now, we're seeing a lot of people fall. We're seeing a lot of people fall in Parliament, and in Parliament, they're being replaced essentially in Parliament. I want to find out from you what you intend to bring on board, bringing all these people who had different thoughts, people who had different supporters who did not agree at the beginning, bringing them on board towards 2020, December 2020.
Everybody in Parliament has something that makes the person an individual character. We all have our differences. It will be difficult for me to be telling you now what I will bring into Parliament, but I know my strengths and I know my weaknesses, and I know that the strength will add positively to what will happen in Parliament. But even there, let me also assure the NBC people in Nabrongo that we are going to win this 7th December election massively. Something SPC will never come near. So I know that I'm the next member of Parliament for the New Patriotic Party in Parliament. And once you are there, whatever you will bring into Parliament will depend on your strength. And once you harness on your strength, you will bring that. I wouldn't want to use this opportunity to blow my horn and say, I can do this, I can do that. But I know that when the time comes, when we get to that bridge, we will cross. And
difficult for you as a woman?
Is that what?
Was it very difficult for you as a woman?
You mean the campaign?
Yes.
I never even saw myself as a woman. I saw myself as a candidate. You know, that's the problem we have. Oh, she's a woman. And then you yourself, you also agree that, oh, okay, I'm a woman, I'm soft, I'm weak. No, I never saw that. I knew I was a candidate. And as a candidate, you go in.
So you're ready to meet the NDC boot for boot, I guess, then?
Maybe, yeah, boot for boot. So we went in as a team. This female, the weaker version never came into play. In fact, it is people who saw me as the underdog. But I saw myself as the David in the David and Goliath story. And I knew that I had a sling with the stone inside a sling, and I was going to hit the forehead of the MP, and he was good for.
I see. So Samson Chiragia is a person that will also be representing the NDC. You're ready for him?
Samson?
Yes.
I'm going to Samson's own father's house, and I'm taking the votes from him. I've founded that one, and he knows what I mean. I'm going to his father's house. That's where I'm going to start. In fact, my father's house, we normally will vote 90, 92%, 93% for the New Patriotic Party. And I'm going to take 100% now because I'm their daughter. This is a Bantama. We are going to give 100% to the New Patriotic Party. Then I will go to Samson's house, and I'm going to take all the votes from NDC and give it to the New Patriotic Party. So he better get ready, because this is going to be the lioness. I mean, I've floored the lion of the New Patriotic Party. I don't know whether he's the lion or he's whatever.
We wish you all the best, and thank you for joining us in that campaign against stigmatization of COVID-19 recovered people. So Tangoba Abayage there is a regional minister, actually, for the Upper Eastern Regional Minister, and now she gets to represent the NPP for the parliamentary elections in 2020. She says that she's going to the opponent's father's house to start her campaigns. That's where she says she's going to get her votes from. Doc, let me find out from you, Mr. Ada, the aviation minister, kicked out. Your thoughts?
Navrongo seat has been a very hot seat over the years, starting from Achuluo, which unfortunately we lost him through accident. And then we got Kofi Ada in. Very, heated election, and he also came in, and the woman is in. Navrongo has always been a very hot seat. And you remember those days we had people like the current Supreme Court judge, Mr. Gabriel, Justice Gabriel Pamang. He also contested in 2000 and all that. It's a hot seat. Navrongo, the beautiful thing about Navrongo is that you have great scholars, great, people there, and it reflects in the elections, right? A lot of lawyers and a lot of, entrepreneurs and all that, great place. So obviously, such a constituency, you are likely to see what firebrands, you are likely to see people with energy, people with drive to be able to move the party into higher levels. So I'm happy that we are seeing this type of excitement in Navrongo again.
Okay. Raymond, I bring you in. What can you share with us on Navrongo Central and Mr. Ada and the fact that he's been out?
The interesting part is that Kofi Ada is just like Doc mentioned, John Setuni Achilo. Kofi Ada actually first came into that seat in 2003. Mr. Achilo actually contested as independent and won that seat in 1995. He then became NPP and won in 2000. It was in 2003 that he was replaced, of course, after his demise with Kofi Ada. So just like the late Achilo, Kofi Ada has also been MP of that particular constituency twice at different times in this particular case. The writings were on the wall. And I think for some reason, the fact that the candidate just elected you spoke to was basically consistently in the constituency compared to the aviation former water sanitation minister, who was mostly away from the constituency, helped the candidate a lot. And again, I think for some reason too, there's a younger crop of people who did not really identify with the Kofi Ada kind of politics for some time.
Okay.
Check out stories from the area about complaints of the NP and not of the district chief executive, of the NP and not of the regional minister, and how he was performing his role as member of parliament. And when the complaints come in about developmental projects, they don't direct it to the people whose responsibility directly is to deliver them, but to he as member of parliament. Those were signs that indicated that there could be some trouble on the line going into the future. But the good part is that we are having another woman going into parliament, and we've never been able to do the 30%, which according to the UN we should have in parliament.
True.
But maybe with more women coming on board, we should be able to get that happening. It's not a decided issue. Let's not forget.
Yeah.
The NPP has won 3 times. The NDC too has won 3 times. If you take out John's independent 1995, the NDC won in 1992, 1996, and also in 2012 with Marco Yongo. So it's a very tight constituency. Both the NPP or the NDC can win. It depends on who is being pushed in there.
Interesting. Joseph, your thoughts before we go on a break on this particular one. And if you're in any of these constituencies, I mean, I know that there's going to be a rush of messages. We can spare some time and do a few of your messages. So let's hear from you. Joseph, your thoughts. Mr. Ada out, Tangoba Abayage in. Okay. So if you're watching us, you're on Joy News. We're coming to you live from our studios here in Kokomlemle. And of course, we're on DSTV. We're on 421. Go TV is 144. Remember that if you're on radio, it's Joy 99.7 FM. This is your election headquarters. We've been here since 7 a.m. bringing you a comprehensive coverage of the NPP's primaries. We're expecting an acclamation, as we're told by the party executive, of President Akufo-Addo as flag bearer of the party going into the 2020 elections. My colleagues, Emefa Pau and Elton Brobe, who is our presidential affairs correspondent, are at the NPP headquarters, and we'll be crossing over to them shortly. Right now, I'm having a conversation with my colleagues, Joseph Opoku Gakpo, who is our parliamentary correspondent, and Raymond Akwa, who is my colleague now in the UK studying. And I do have here also political scientist, Dr. Esa Sante, and we're talking about what is happening within the NPP. Massive fall being taken by a number of, members of parliament. Some went unopposed. In fact, over 60 of them went unopposed. And the question has been, could there have been many more casualties if they had not gone unopposed? Something, yes. I've spoken to John Boydu, who says that generally it's been a good election. Generally, he said it's not too bad if you look at the fallout, especially of what's happening in Parliament. Joseph, are you there? All right. We'll get back to Joseph, but I need to take a very quick break right now. When we return, we'll look at the road to election 2020. Doc here has said several things about the fact that the results at the moment shows that there are problems that the NPP, the governing NPP, has to deal with if they want to make a difference in the election, in the national election that's coming up in just, barely 6 months. We'll look at what those problems could be. Can we even envisage them? What are they? What can the party do about it? Well, can the opposition then take advantage of these problems? And will they be a responsible opposition whilst doing that? Remember, we're in a pandemic as well. We'll be looking at all of that when I return from this break. Just stay with us. Welcome back. This is your election headquarters. I can't repeat it enough. We're on Joy 99.7 FM, also on Love 99.5 FM. We're on Joynews on DSTV and all our social media platforms, as well as myjoyonline.com. My name is Gifty Ando Api. I'm here with Dr. I'm here with Dr. Esa Sante. He is a political scientist from the University of Ghana's Political Science Department. I also have joining us on Zoom, Raymond Akwa, all the way from the United Kingdom, and Joseph Opoku Gakpo, Parliamentary Affairs Correspondent. We're looking at the people who are falling out of Parliament, new entrants as well coming in. But I indicated when I was going on the break that when I come, I want us to focus on the road to election 2020, the national elections, and the consequences of this particular election, the impact it will have on the next election. Doc, what do you see from there?
Yes. Now NPP has finished its elections. What they need to do is to be able, now they have the candidates. So you need to have how you can manage and sell that candidate. Okay. And that is one of the most important things they need to consider. Not only that, but government programs. Now they have to make sure that they focus on government programs and deal with all the rough edges so that people will believe them that they are fulfilling their promises, because they made a lot of promises. In recent time, you've seen how the promise argument is coming out between NDC, NPP, and then you have Imani also coming. For me, I'm enjoying that, because now what is telling me is that parties are now moving towards the realm of what? Manifestos. And manifestos are nothing but government programs and actions. And that is what we want to see as we are going towards the election. Not only that, but we also want to see as they are planning for the campaign, they should not lose sight of their competitors, those who are going to compete with them. And you want to look at how you can manage information about them. Normally, when you do a message development, you look at your opponent and develop a message that will be able to counter that candidate. And this is one of the things that they need to look at. And then it brings you into the realm of real message development, which are the messages that when you send out will really hit the voter, and the voter will respond positively for you. They must look at this thing through a proper planning and proper arrangement, so that they get the right message that will resonate with the people and give them. And this is a function of research. By now they should have gotten all their researches done, and that they have messages that they develop for constituencies, for regions, for nationals, so that wherever you go, you know what to say at what point in time. They need to do that. And this time that you are not going to have face-to-face campaign, right? They need to be very innovative to develop a lot of what? Gestures, slogans that will communicate messages to the electorates very, very fast. Not only that, but you have to also make use of what? The modern medium of communication, all right? The social media and all that. Remember, research shows that if you really want to win elections in this country, one of the means by which you can communicate your message is through face-to-face campaign. Now you don't have that. You need to move on to radio and then take advantage of that, move on to television, take advantage of that. And then, so you need to plan all these political communication tools so that you use them effectively to give you the effect that you want. And then they should be able to have serious strategies for whatever places that they want to take advantage of, political strategies. And one of the best means of getting good strategy is when you have really survey data. It tells you that you are strong here, you are weak here. This is what you have to churn out and all that. This is the time that the research teams within the parties must be busy with their work and giving them information, so that as the campaign rolls, you will be able to tell them that at this point in time, this is what you have to inject into the campaign. This is what you have to say. This is the strategy you have to do. And in politics, we were saying that who gets what, would get power, how and when. The way, the approach that you use, it doesn't matter, provided.
Does it not matter?
Oh, it doesn't. In politics, provided you work within the framework of the law. But I tell you, I can even develop a message that will affect your image. And it doesn't matter, provided I am able to do it successfully, and then I'm able to derive the benefit that I want from it. They should be able to have strategies and then be able to send their message well. And they should not lose sight of the fact that we are in the era of COVID-19. How you manage COVID, especially the government.
Which is one of the questions I want to ask.
It's going to be something that they are going to use to judge the conduct of government in how it has responded to COVID. Because in crisis situation, we want to test the pulse of government to see that government is up to the task. If you are not able to manage it well, when the government introduced the lockdown and all that, as a message developer, myself, I develop more than 10 messages, right? Some pluses, some minuses, all right? The parties are doing the same. And when it's election, they're going to throw this thing out. How government manage this? If you are not able to manage crisis well, I tell you, you are going to have your fingers bent.
Having your fingers bent. And which is why for Raymond and Joseph, I want to find out, Joseph, are you still there?
Yeah.
Great. So I want us to, with you, to look at the new entrants, okay? Those who are supposed to be coming to Parliament if they win. Okay, so we have Mr. Asensu Boache there, who has won. Unseating Ochema Boache. We have Dakwa Newman. We have someone like Kwejasan. We have Vincent Ekwesi for the spokesperson for the Education Ministry. And you have a number of others. For you, what would typically happen with these people? Would they be having some sort of sessions as part of the party's plan towards the next election? Would they be having sessions with the incumbent MPs, you know, learning from them, etc., how to win the election, how to even behave in parliament?
Obviously, those who are coming in afresh would have to make that conscious effort to reach out and work with those who are exiting so that then things turn out positive. For example, Vincent Assefa that you mentioned, he's taken over from a very veteran gentleman who has been in this space all these years, made his name in Parliament, Dr. Anthony Akotose, widely respected both for his work in Parliament and elsewhere and all. So there's someone to pick it up from. People like Daniel Chima-Boaje, who is a first-timer himself, some would say that's not so much of a big deal, that he's making space for someone else to come in.
Raymond, we can hear you. It's not your turn yet.
But you see, so the quality of the materials that are coming in, there are those that you can praise beyond any reasonable doubt and be certain that these individuals will be extraordinary parliamentary candidates. And there are those that you would raise questions over in terms of their qualities. But again, we've also seen situations of people step in as first-time parliamentarians and end up doing extraordinarily well. Although admittedly, that happened.
Okay. Well, let's adjust that internet bundle there and get back to Joseph. Okay, Joseph, we'll work that out. We'll work that out. Let me bring you in, Raymond. Again, look at the new entrance for me vis-a-vis the NPP's journey towards election 2020, the national election 2020.
Yes, I have been concerned about the quality of people going into our parliament. In this Fourth Republic, with virtually every new parliament, I get even more concerned about the standards we are putting in that particular house. Maybe I am still hung up with the likes of Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo in parliament, and I'm not willing to give the new ones the chance. But, for example, look at a constituency like Ayawaso West Wuogon, and the people that are currently in the race to represent that particular elite constituency. It gives me worry that the quality of people who are supposed to be representing groupings are not as it used to be, and we are not improving upon it. Much more importantly, when we don't have a higher chamber that can review the work of the lower chamber, look at the countries, the established democracies that have all of these structures in place, that also uses the first past the post system. So the person who wins gets to go into the house and not proportional representation. What happens at the end of the day is that, check the US, check the UK, check even Canada. They have a higher chamber, be it a Senate or the House of Lords or so, that is more like the temperate and existing structure that gives it some level of higher review, so that we can be rest assured the work done by the lower chamber, which can have all the wonderful changes we are talking about, all the wonderful things happening. People can go in after a term and come out, and yet will not affect the general quality of work expected of Parliament. Now, let's not forget, in 2017, the Speaker of Parliament was very much concerned about the attrition rate of MPs going in there. I am much more so concerned about the kind of people who have been elected recently. For example, a replacement for somebody like Dr. Anthony Akotose ought to be at a standard that, to my mind, would have not only the pedigree the man is having, or developing over a period of time.
You don't see a balance if you put. You don't see a balance if you put him against Echo Vincent Assefa.
Okay, so that's what I'm about saying. I'm about saying that I feel it's a massive downgrade to move from Dr. Anthony Akotose to the current elected, what they call it, parliamentary candidate for the NPP.
But people like Akotose cannot be there always. There'll have to be people who learn from them.
Yes, I am worried about the fact that there seems not to be any structure at the constituency level that develops people to the point that we have a seamless transition. People might see or think it's not democratic, but what's the end in sight in this case?
Okay.
Democratic practices lead to a particular end in sight. What is the end we hope to achieve? Better legislation and improve engagement with the people. That is what I will see, and I think is lacking in the kind of system you're running. Increasingly, when you have resources, and check the people who are winning the elections today, either they are government officials or they have some relevant position and can command resources. It looks like the ability to command resources is more important than any other quality that can put you in the Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. That is dangerous.
I see. Raymond, talking about people who are in position, I mean, I know Vincent, for example, had to slug it out with someone who also works within government machinery, Dr. Louis Carroll. She didn't quite make it. Were you surprised about that?
Okay, so that race particularly, I was expecting deep within me, because I know Vincent very well. I know Carol very well. I was expecting Carol to win, but I knew that the conspiracy on the ground was against her.
Raymond, what sort of conspiracy? Help us.
And the lack of forgiveness in the hearts of the people in this particular case worked against her completely. But if you put the two on a scale for me and ask me to choose a better representative of the people, I would any day go for Carol over Vincent.
Why?
If I'm doing a very objective analysis of the two. Because
is it for gender balance?
Because of engagement, because of their intellectual competence too.
Okay.
And what I consider to be the kind of expertise required to be in the Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. That is really something that I'll make a choice on. But unfortunately, I am not a delegate. I have not been qualified to be a delegate. I don't know when I'll be. But it looks like the criteria we are looking up to, delegates have not been so competent in choosing the best people for the constituencies.
So as far as you're concerned,
we might have to fine-tune the system. Either we are going to expand it like the NDC tried, and let every CALPBER member play a role in there, so that you don't have to distribute largesse to win.
Okay.
So that it's not and I'm seeing recent ones, refrigerators and all of those things being in there. It's not the things you can distribute that can make you win that particular seat. That's what I'm very worried about.
So you think that Dr. Louis Carroll would have been a better candidate as against Akosua? Well, we'll be getting on social media to get some of your comments, Facebook and also our WhatsApp platform. But like I said, we're hoping to cross over to the NPP headquarters to find out what is happening there as well. Raymond, I want you quickly to talk, the question I put to Doc about what this election or what these primaries reveal, the problems that these primaries reveal that could come back to haunt the NPP in the general elections in December. What do you see?
Now, this reminds me of 2007. Remember in 2007 when almost 17 people had to line up to go and contest? The president was worried about his ministers, and parliamentary work almost came to a standstill because the stalwarts, the big men who were driving government business, were also seeking to replace the president at the time. I see one, if there is not caretaking, parliamentary work may be affected one way or the other. Secondly, if we do not get the opportunity to also get the people to engage better, this election, the problem of having a party divided after parliamentary elections, I don't see it solved. I see a lot of breaking going around. That's the first thing the party should work at fixing. If they don't do so, it will reflect and act like the 2008 election and the impact it had on it. Quickly, they need to merge the problems that they need to actually work on it. If they work on it and be able to fix most of these problems, then maybe the best thing is to get an incumbent member of parliament and his replacement both going out there to tell the people that I have done my job. This guy is coming to replace me. Vote for him. If it doesn't work that way, we may have problems. We may not have problems in Otafo or any of the constituencies in the Ashanti region predominantly. And I'm being careful because I cannot put Abdallah Banda's constituency in that grouping. It's a constituency that can slip anyway. It's not a very solid constituency. My difficulty I'm seeing here is that there is still some problem with the NPP. They tried by making some go unopposed, and how they went about it perhaps was not the best way to actually go about it. It's a very difficult corner for a party like that. What they can do is to get the older men, experienced men, who can speak to people, because some of these young people who are contesting or current MPs, they have godfathers. Those people can tell them to either back down on any need to oppose the current people who have been elected or help them out. If they don't get them to resolve these problems internally, we have almost 5 months to an election which is the first to have under a coronavirus-infested environment. With its own difficulties, you would surely be having more problems on your hands. You do not need to add on to those problems by being an incumbent. And we know how incumbents suffer in elections. Regardless of the fact that you have resources, incumbents end up being seen as those who should do more. And their failure to do so works against them.
Failure to do so works against them, nonchalant supporters as well. Doc, I want to bring you in on what can work for the NPP. Initially, when you ask people, they'll say, oh, there's always, in fact, when you ask the NPP, they were always trumpeting what they had done with the free SHS. And that was a big message for them until coronavirus came. You indicated earlier on that coronavirus and how they handled it will play a major role in the decision that people will take. But what else can work for them? And once you're at it, can we look at what the opposition as well can take advantage of?
Yeah, research has shown that over the years, if you want to win elections, there are a number of things you need to consider, and you consider seriously. One is the economy. Look at how the economy has been hit badly by corona. It is the duty of government to be able to address this problem in no time, because that, take it or leave it. Though it's not the making of government and that we have the economy in this shape and form now, all right? But hey, you are the manager of the economy. They want to see how you address this problem. And it's one of the variables that people consider in all elections, whether you are for one party or another. Issue of the economy is a life and death matter for average voter in this country. They want to know how you're going to fix the economy, how are you going to create jobs, and these are all part of what the economic programs.
Speaking of economy, Doc, just sorry to interrupt you. You know that it was a big deal. People were comparing how the city has performed. I mean, at least they were using that as a focal point to talk about the economy. They're talking about the banking crisis. The government indicated that they had done a lot, salvage these banks because it could have been worse. But if you look at the economy alone, could they now say that we were working it out until coronavirus came? Can coronavirus be an easy excuse for the party, an excuse that everybody, because it's hit the world over. So can that be an easy excuse?
It depends upon how the average voter will look at the issue. But for the ordinary man, it doesn't matter whether there is a variable who threw your budget away. All that they want is food on table. Whether you are in a corona or you are not in a corona environment, I need food. Nothing more, nothing less. So these are things that a government must find a way of working it out. Otherwise, government is not going to be spared with that. The second issue is that in this country, if you want to win election, you should not lose sight of the fact that you need to fix infrastructure. You need to develop. It's one of the things that voters look at for, that parties are able to deliver that. And that's why elections are always nothing but referendum on your deeds, what you have done. And issue of infrastructure, roads and those things, you need to fix them. The third issue that Ghanaians also look at is how you deal with that canker of corruption, which has virtually become albatross around our necks in recent time. Because over the years, government have just paid lip service to the fight against corruption. Every year, election year, they keep on promising that we'll deal with corruption head on. They come back, and within ruling governments, you have a lot of corruption stories being suppressed by governments and all that. The average voter is very well awake on this issue. And when it comes to voting, they will show you the exit. All right. Apart from that, if you want to win election in this country, one of the things you need to look out for is your ability to be able to ensure that the rule of law actually works. Because it should not just be in books, and people must feel it. It must manifest, because this is one of the drivers of democracy. Okay. That democracy hinges around what rule of law. Without it, the rule of law, democracy cannot work. It is nothing but what? The sine qua non, without which not. All right. Yes.
And the NDC has said a lot about, I mean, they do a lot of comparison. They will say, well, here is a president who is trumpeted as the champion of rule of law, and they do that when they want to counter that with something that has happened. Let's go on the line right now. I have John Kuma, who won for the Ejiso constituency with 397 votes, and seating the incumbent with who had 307 votes. Mr. Kuma, congratulations.
Thank you very much, and my greetings to Joynew's viewers.
What has been the strategy that you think has worked for you?
I think that close relationship with the delegates and a good message of hope. I think I contested earlier and lost, but I didn't leave. I kept close contact with the delegates, and I continued to share my vision and programs with the Ejiso constituency, and continue to play active role in all their social activities and economic endeavors. So I believe that made a lot of difference. The constant relationship and rapport with them made a big difference.
A lot of people said that it won't be easy for you to unseat the Deputy Roads and Highways Minister, Kobna Owusu Adjomi. But, well, it looks like you've been able to do it. But there are, look at the figures, 397, 307. It's not too close, but, you know, looks split. How do you bring on board these people who are on either sides to win a crucial election?
Yes, this is an internal election, and I am fortunate to be such a big officer of our party, who is also a deputy minister for roads. You know, he has served our constituency for 12 years, and he has words of experience, especially when it comes to the road sector, both in Parliament and outside Parliament and in our constituency. So I will be working closely with him and his supporters. When I lost earlier, he worked with me. I worked as his electoral area coordinator during the last campaign, and we won over 80% for the party in Ejiso. Okay. This time around, I believe his people and himself are also going to work closely with me. The target is to exceed 90% for His Excellency Nana Addo Akufo-Addo in 2020, and to also, you know, activate the grassroots of our party in Ejiso, and bring back a lot of hope to the young people.
We were just having a conversation with my colleagues in Parliament and others who are political scientists on the quality of people who are now going into Parliament. What is it that you bring on board that should make our Parliament better than it is at the moment?
I think I bring a lot of quality to Parliament. And I'm happy that we have a lot of young people who are also having the opportunity to enter Parliament. We are going to go there with drive. We are going to add the debate in Parliament. You know, one thing is that it appeared the NPP was getting monopoly over young people in Parliament. But if you look at the current proper winners of the NPP Primaries, lots of us are also of the young bar. And I think that we are also going to add to that debate in Parliament and the drive and the youthful debate in Parliament. So that is one. My background is also into entrepreneurship. You know, I'm the current CEO for National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program. And I think I can bring a lot of ideas on how to craft good policies on how to engage young people economically and empower them into economic ventures in the country. I am also professionally trained as a lawyer, laws are, crafted, I think I can have a lot of contribution to make in that parliament. And when it comes to debates and contributing to national discussions and debates, I think I can also contribute to that a lot. So we come in with our own kind of experience and our own kind of advantages. And over time, we are going to learn the rules. I mean, some of us have been with student politics and all kinds of politics all our lives. So standing orders are not new to us. You just have to take a little time to get to know the rules.
Very well.
And then you
Very
can play
well. Hopefully you do well there. Hopefully. But finally, just a question on my mind. Were you approached to allow the incumbent to go unopposed?
No.
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 And when you made your intentions clear, nobody asked you to step aside for him?
No. This was not the first time I was going to contest him.
Okay.
I contested him earlier when we were in opposition.
Okay.
So, and I mean, those who knew me knew that my mind was made up, and I was not going to listen to such advice anyway. So,
all right. We wish you all the best, and I'm sure it's been a long day for you. Congratulations once again. Okay, so that's Mr. Kumar. John Kumar is the boss of the NEIP there, who was unseated incumbent Governor Owusu Aduomi. We'll do some social media, find out what people are saying on social media. Most of you are texting, WhatsApping. It's a very long, I mean, I have tons of messages. I don't even know where to start. Maybe let me see if I can read some of them. This one says, good evening to you and the entire team of Joynews. You people are doing a good job. Congrats to the PC of Yendi, Alhaji Farouk, son of the late Vice President Abdulaziz Nindo Katochi. Sent that from Tamale. And Farouk has been one of the people that we have built to talk to. We'll see if we can reach him and then engage him briefly. But here is a picture we put on Facebook. And another key issue in our politics, monetization, if you like, soliciting votes through gifts. Here is a NASCO blender tucked under the armpits of somebody. We don't see the person's face, but it's got the picture of Vincent Odote, the former deputy minister who was kicked out. But so essentially, we'll put the picture there on social media, part of our election headquarters pictures. Let's see what you people think about it, those of you who have seen it. DK Moses Aso says you don't need to fear delegates, but rather respect delegate decisions. This is just the beginning of Ghanaian stories. Those happy being won, I'm not sure, should be equally ready to receive the surprise if they mishandle the power given them. Okay, so those who have won and are happy, they should be careful. They should be ready for the surprise if they don't do the right thing, you essentially mean. Formenya Franklin says, fear politicians, not delegates. And Kwame says, upon living with this hardship for years, you sold your conscience for this. Okay, you have some harsh words at the back of that. He says, Francis Tosu says, it is when you underrate delegates, when you think you can buy the conscience of delegates with gifts and cash at the last hour to influence their votes, that you end up saying fear delegates. Delegates are level-headed and discerning people. Just deliver and get the votes. Very interesting thoughts there. August Ines Mensah says, this reminds me of my contest for Form 2 class captain, when my fellow students chop my nkati cake and sobolo free. Okay, so you mean that Honorable Odote has had his blender taken for free. Nadala says, my Honorable MP that too, DSTV and things were promised. When you were given power, you don't know what to do with it, and thus you make wrong decisions. This is what you end up doing. Go and return no more. Afo Daniel says, forget loyalty to party grassroots. Just bring money, plenty money. Well, like we're seeing in this picture, it looks like the blenders didn't work. So if you're saying so, monetization. Let's see if we can wrap our conversation up on that note of monetization and gifts during campaigns, etc. Have the dynamics changed at all?
It hasn't changed at all. It's getting worse by the day. My worry is that it flows from the way we fund political parties. We have not been serious about this at all. look at even requirement that when parties go for general election, they must submit audited accounts to Electoral Commission. How many of the parties are able to do that? And even at what time? And has the Electoral Commission got the political courage to crack the whip on them? No. And that is why they have the penchant to do what they are doing.
But if you take a look at what happened right now, so this is just one of the pictures that we spotted on our rounds. And the person did not win. So the person is holding on to the blender, but the person whose face is on this blender did not win the election. Doesn't it tell you something that these days people are very sophisticated, delegates are very sophisticated in the way they cast their votes?
You are only seeing one instance. There are places that people have taken the goodies and they are quiet and you don't see that. What we are saying that these things deprive you of your power to elect the right candidate to represent you. All right. If you look at it from this perspective that you want to serve me. We are saying that politicians are nothing but what? Servant. You want to serve me, but you want to bribe me before you serve me.
Or is it bribery?
Oh, it's bribery. If you want to give me money in order to give my vote for you. It's
more of a cultural thing where we like to say, oh, you know, Jekaka, you know, take something. And
no. Have I appealed to you that I need funds in order to survive? I have been telling my students that if politicians are serious and they are giving goodies, they should come to the Department of Political Science and give us goodies. They will run away and leave their sandals behind because that is not a forum. For political votes, you want to solicit for votes, you come with what? Ideas, messages, your policies and programs. We interrogate.
But sincerely, does that work in our Ghanaian politics?
If you want it to work, it will work here. We are not interested in that. If we're interested, you see how now voters are pinning down politicians onto what? Messages, onto policies and programs. You see how now politicians are held, they are held sway. They don't know what to do. If the electorate decide that this is the direction I want politicians to follow, they will follow. Except that that power that the elected they have, they are not able to maximize it, to leverage on that to get what they want. And that politicians have taken advantage of this, and then they are driving them to the corner that they don't want to belong to that area. That is a difficulty. But I believe that young democracies, that's some of the difficulties, the challenges they go through. With time, these things will fall in line, and then we'll be able to get the system that will really stand the test of time. But we can sit down with our, without doing anything. We need to be able to do more to be able to sustain this process that we have struggled to bring it to this level. Remember, people died, people struggled to bring democracy to the Fourth Republic.
So
and it is the duty of you and I to be able to defend it at all times. Democracies have the tendency of relapsing, and this is what we have to guard against so that we don't get to that arena.
I'll be going across to my colleagues for their final words, but as we gradually end the show, but Nanaya Ojima is joining me from the Ashanti region to wrap up for me what happened at that press conference held by Chairman Wontumi. Nanaya, go ahead.
This evening, the NPP, so the NPP in the Ashanti region, led by Chairman Bernard Entribo Siako, popularly known as Chairman Wontumi, held a press conference, and it was to officially announce to us the winners of the elections that the NPP held today. Interestingly, areas like the Subin constituency and also the Asante Achem North constituency, where injunctions were placed on the elections by some delegates, had their elections today, and these elections were not supervised by the EC, but rather party executives in the constituencies had the go-ahead from the regional executives to conduct the elections by themselves. So that was what was done in these constituencies. So we had opponents like Kojuban Ajaman for Asante Achem North, and also Subin JB Dankwa withdrawing from the contest because they believe that it should be done, it should be done properly. That is with EC supervising the election. But Chairman Entribo Siako, popularly known as Chairman Wontumi, responding to issues from these constituencies, told journalists that per party laws, without the EC, party leadership can appoint people to ensure that the elections go on properly as they expect. So results from these areas, even though injunctions were placed on the elections, are accepted and winners remain winners. So the party now recognize all these people who were elected in the areas. So the people elected through this election include.
Yeah, right. Nana Ojima there with that wrap of what we unfortunately run out of time. We need to wrap this up quickly. Nana Ojima, thank you very much for that update. So essentially, Chairman Wontumi announces that those places where the results were not announced, that the people could still hold themselves as people who have won in that election. Let me do our final round of final words. Joseph, are you there? Okay, I don't know, Joseph. Raymond, let me take your very final words as we wrap up in all of these.
You were talking about the influence of money and the fact that it's gotten worse. And I actually feel that as a state, we are not interested in cabinet. So which people are supposed to cabinet? The politicians who have been using the tool, or the ordinary people who don't have the power to actually make their influence be felt in there, or those who have been receiving the money. Our political system is such a way that it's not a matter that many people care about, but it's what decides who gets what. Now, if it decides who gets what, let's ask ourselves, are there limits to how much I can give a candidate to contest an election? So assuming I'm able to commandeer, let's say, 4 billion cedis against your very meager resources, Gifty, the chances that I will win, mindful of the poverty rate of the people and how they've been impoverished for a very long time, is very high. Right. So maybe if the Electoral Commission is being a bit more stringent and not only caring about the end result being the election, but the processes that lead to the election, it will help all of us. And
okay. Raymond, thank you as well. I'll have to create a new show for your new look. Raymond, thank you so much for being with us through and through. Raymond Aqua, my colleague, also a member of the political desk, joining us all the way from the UK. Doc, let me wrap up with you here in the studio. We have to rush out. Our time is up. But finally, what should people take away from this conversation today all day?
Yes, the NPP must now go back to the drawing board, look at what went wrong and try to fix them. And then also take a cue from what has happened in terms of the COVID, the way people threw the rules to the dogs. They should be able to do something about it if we are going to have this general election. And remember, the way they handled this COVID issue, I've already said, is going to also impact on the election campaign. Right. They should look at all the pluses and as well look at what the minuses. Once they're able to do this thing and do them right, I believe that they will be strong to contest the election come 2020 December.
Doc, I really appreciate you being here with us. Very good thoughts-provoking perspective. I hope that it gives you food for thought. Dr. Asa Asante is a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana's Political Science Department. He's a political scientist joining us. Raymond Aqua joined us from the UK, and Joseph Opoku-Gakpo, our parliamentary affairs, joined us from here in Ghana. My name is Gifty Andopia. Thank you so much for being with us since 7 a.m. We'll do it again. This is your election headquarters. Have a good night.